What's going on, Hub Training Center? I'm sorry. Lack of communication. I guess I've been on for a couple seconds now. I first want to greet you, and I know what today is. Today is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day. I hope that you experience a great Father's Day. I hope that everybody that you have been a father to at least whisper in your ear and say happy Father's Day, because you don't have to plant the seed to take care of the fruit, if you understand what I mean. So we greet you, and we're happy that you have made it this far to another word. So we're gonna dive straight into it. We again with Matthew chapter 4, but I realize now the direction I'm going in. So we're gonna start with Matthew chapter 4, and we're gonna highlight simply verse 4. Matthew chapter 4, and we're gonna highlight verse 4. And it reads as such: But he answered and said, It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Now, family, I wanna firstly congratulate you. I want to congratulate you for doing what you know to do. I want to congratulate you for graduating high school. I want to congratulate you for attending college, getting your associates, getting your bachelor's, getting your master's, some of you getting your doctorate and or PhD. I want to congratulate you. I want to pat you on the back to tell you good job. Because many times we do things, and we do what we consider the small things. We do the things that we're trained to do. They teach us to do, but they don't tell us thank you, or they don't tell us good job, or they don't tell us congratulations, or they don't pat us on the back for actually enduring the struggles of getting what we expect to get out this thing called life. So I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you. I want to pat you on the back and tell you good job for getting married. Good job for having children. Good job for purchasing a home. Good job for purchasing a car. Good job that you actually keep car insurance on your car. Good job for going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. I want to pat you on the back and say good job. But have you ever been in a place where you know you're doing good, but there's a call for more? And that's what I want to talk to you about. The call for more. The call for more. Jesus said, it is not good for man to be alone. He did say that. But man shall not live by bread alone. There must be some revelation and some comparison there for me to say that. But man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. I want you to know here that Jesus was quoting Deuteronomy chapter 8. Here God told them that he gave them manna from heaven, and that came from Exodus. When we first run into manna, it came from Exodus chapter 16 verse 1 through 5, is where the Israelites were complaining, and the Israelites was reminiscing about their time surrounded around pots of meat and bread in Egypt. And so when they got a little hungry, they got a little parched, they got a little frustrated. You know how we get when we get hungry. When I get hungry, don't say nothing to me. When I get hungry, fix my hunger, then we can talk. When I'm hungry, I'm not one to think about the good times, to think about nostalgia, but I'm thinking about the issues that's going on in my stomach. Here, the Israelites are complaining and are fussing and are reminiscing, and they're thinking that because they had pots of meat and bred in bondage, that they're better being in bondage than to be free with nothing. And here it is, God saying, wait a minute, y'all complaining about having pots of meat and bread in Egypt, and I will fulfill your stomach. I will give you bread from heaven, which is manna. Not the same as the bread from Egypt, but I will give you only what the Lord can give you, and that is manna, bread. That is every word that proceeds out the mouth of God. So it's funny, why did the enemy ask Jesus to turn the stone into bread? That's interesting. It's bread. It's flour, it's dough, it got yeast, it rises, and you put it in the oven, and you cook it, and you put jelly and butter and peanut butter and all that kind of stuff on your bread. What's so important about bread? Here it is, bread symbolizes selfishness. Bread symbolizes materialism. Bread symbolizes you only thinking for yourself. Bread symbolizes hedonism. Bread symbolizes using people to better yourself, using people to elevate yourself, manipulating people to get your way. Bread symbolizes you being stuck on what you can touch, on what you can have. You being stuck on materialism, the tangible. Bread is you thinking that all the accomplishments that you have, because it's tangible, because you can see it, because you can feel it. Bread is saying that this is all I need to be happy. This is all I need to be at peace. This is all I need to be a joy. Bread is saying that long as my stomach full, I can care less about nobody else's stomach being empty. That's bread. But what would have happened if Jesus would have turned that bread into stone? Let's be honest here. Number one, he would have exalted as king of Israel. Notice that when Jesus was born, there was a star in the east, and the wise men traveled to see this baby that has this star in the east, because they were wise in what? The heavens, the skies, which means they were scholars in astrology. So the astrology testifies that Jesus is the Christ. He is the King of Israel. That's why Herod had a problem, because he knew that everybody was going to exalt Jesus as being king of Israel, because Herod was not supposed to be king. Herod politically manipulated his way to get the crown. But here it is, Jesus is present. Jesus has stepped on the scene. Jesus was just being born, and the wise men came to Jesus and said, and offered him sacrifices and said, you are the Christ. So here it is, if Jesus would have turned that stone into bread, Jesus would have exalted as king, because they would have crowned him king. Now, he would have delivered the Israelites out of Rome. He would have got Israel from under the reign and the objectivism of Rome. Israel would have really been the nation after God's own heart. They would have been a nation that's sanctified to God, if he would have turned the stone into bread. He would have materially had everything he wanted. He would have been rich. He wouldn't been to the point where the disciples asked, where are you going? He said, foxes have holes, birds of the earth have nests, but the Son of Man have no place to lay his head. He wouldn't have had to deal with the problems and the struggles of not just being the king, but being the Messiah. There's a difference between him being king and him being Messiah. He is king. He is Messiah. But here it is. His focus was being the Christ, the Messiah, the one who saves humanity from sin, not just Israel from Rome. His family would have been poor. His family wouldn't have been poor if he turned stone into bread. And we know now he was from Nazareth. He was from Nazareth. In Nazareth, they had their house was a shed, and it was a wall in between, and it was his family, and it was his cattle. Everybody was farmers because they grew their own food. It's to the point where one disciple said, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Maybe he wouldn't have been so poor. Maybe he would have got married from the slums of Nazareth. Maybe he would have got his brothers and his sisters from Nazareth. But he didn't turn stones into bread because he was not selfish. He understood that he had a bigger mission at hand than to satisfy his stomach. I need some of us to understand this, because many times we do not look in the mirror. We do not self-reflect. We do not look at the responsibility that's laid out before us. And so once we have a little moment of self-gratification, we have a little moment where we can go and sow our royal oats. If you've watched Coming to America, if we can go a few days and we can not consider the heaviness that we have to deal with. And all heaviness is not a bad heaviness. Some heaviness is to lock you in so you can know this is what I have to get done so I could progress to the next level of my life. So here it is. Jesus could have did all of this if he turns stone into bread, because he did fast 40 days and 40 nights, so he was hungry. So Jesus teaches us that life is more than just bread. Life is more than just what you can have. Life is more than materialism. Life is more than hedonism. Life is more than you fulfilling yourself. But how can you serve the people around you? How can you serve the world? Here it is. The rich young ruler came to Jesus and said, "Good teacher, what good things shall I do that I may have eternal life?" Jesus looked at him and said, "Why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that is God." But Jesus said, "Well, if you keep your commandments, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you got to honor your mother and your father, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." And here it is. The rich young ruler said, "I've done all of those things." Here's how I've done all those things. I have legalistically kept the commandments. That's what he's saying. But Jesus looked at him and said, and when the rich young ruler said, "What do I lack?" Jesus said, "Well, if you want to be perfect," that's a whole other subject, and I don't want to get lost in it. "Go sell what you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me." Jesus is teaching him that life is more than just doing good things. But life is about actually being good. Life is more than you being seen doing good stuff. Life is more than you giving somebody $2 that's homeless on the street. And what we don't understand is we're possibly funding a habit, because many homeless people are homeless because of two things for the most part. It's because of they got addicted to some kind of drug and they lost all their stuff trying to fund their high, or they gambled all their money away. It's statistically proven. So we get caught up on doing good things, but you're not actually good because your heart is in the wrong place. You have not got yourself together truly where you can really be a good person. It says be good. Listen, it says it's not actually doing good things. It's actually being good. It's to be. To be means to exist. It means to live. It means to breathe. God looked at Adam and Eve and say, if you choose to, make a couple babies. He ain't say that. He looked at them and said, be fruitful and multiply. What he's saying is, live to be fruitful. Exist to be fruitful. Breathe. Your breath should be breath of fruit. He says, be not afraid. He's not saying that sometimes you're going to be afraid and sometimes you're not. He says your overall existence, your life, every word you speak, every breath you breathe should not contain no fear. Be not afraid because God is with us. He says that you will have treasure in heaven. Treasure being a prize. Treasure is a reward. Treasure is accomplished, is gotten after you have finished the race. Which means that every methodical move that you make in our life should be investing treasure. You are investing treasure in every area of your life. Let me put it like that. Every move you make, every thought you think, every decision you make, it's storing up treasure. But where? Because we know once we save money, we storing up treasure in our bank account. So our bank account can be an overflow. When we working out, we're storing up treasures in our physical health. I mean, all of this good. But we know that our treasures will be in a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus, depending on what your goals are. You know what your treasures will be based off of the investments that you put in, based off the time that you put in. Here, Jesus is teaching him that if you give to the poor, in other words, if you rid yourself of yourself and you follow me, what he's saying is, you will get all that back double. The problem is we're so addicted. I didn't want to deal with this. I'll try to say this for another time. We get so addicted to things. That's the scary part. Because here's my question about the rich young ruler. Jesus didn't force him. He didn't pressure him. He told him, and he answered the question that the rich young ruler had. Jesus said, well, if you want to be perfect, this is the statement. All you have to do is sell all your stuff and come and follow me. Why did the rich young ruler walk away sad? Because if it's your choice, I'm not finna be sad walking to the grocery store. And so when somebody say, how you doing, sir? I ain't doing good. What's wrong with you? I had to go to the grocery store because I had $150 to go grocery shopping so I can feed my family. But I ain't feel like going to the grocery store because I just didn't want to. And they're going to look at me like, well, why'd you come anyways? If you didn't want to come, you got free will. You can do and choose how you want to move and maneuver throughout life. So why are you mad about a decision that you made in your moment and you could have turned around? Jesus is a forgiving God. He could have turned around, but he walked away sorrowful. Why? Maybe because his possessions had gripped him to the point where he couldn't let go. How much stuff in your life that has you gripped to the point that no matter how many signs it gives you, no matter how many times it shows you what it's really about, no matter how many times it reveals to you its real motives, you still can't let it go, even though you have come unto the knowledge of truth. What has gripped you to the point that you can't move on? That's the question we ought to ask ourselves. What has us bound? What kind of strongholds has gripped us and has tarried us to the point where we feel like we don't have no more fight in us? What is really going on in our life, in our world? And the only way we're going to be able to truly examine that question if we can understand that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And every word that proceeds from the mouth of God is the nature of God. So if you can rid yourself of the things that you have been addicted and accustomed to and attach yourself to the very nature of God, just imagine what your life will be. You ain't got nothing anyways. You ain't got no peace anyways. You hardly got joy anyways. You frustrated with yourself anyways. You might as well give him a chance. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Present actions is inevitably supporting your loyalties. Hear me. Your present actions, the things that you are doing now, is inevitably supporting your loyalties. When Jesus was 12 years old, there was a piece of Passover, I believe. Jesus was 12 years old. And his family, of course, was from Nazareth, so they would travel to Jerusalem for the ordinance. And Mary and John and the family, they traveling back to Nazareth, but Jesus stayed behind because Jesus was talking to the scholars in the temple. Now, they were astonished. They were tripping like, this young dude was smart. So Mary and Joseph, they looking for him for 3 days, and they traveled back to Jerusalem and found Jesus in the temple. And they said, why you got us? They said, Jesus, why you got us so anxious looking for you? It's been 3 days. You're only 12 years old. Jesus looked at Mary and said, why do you seek me? Do you not know about my Father's business? What he's saying is, my loyalties, my present actions is proving my loyalty to my Father's business. Which means that based on the decisions and the moves that you make, your actions, is showing us, God, the people around you, it's showing yourself, what are you truly loyal to? Because based on what you're truly loyal to, it will show up in your actions. Where your treasure is, it's a scripture, I just ain't got it written down. There will your heart be also. Your actions will reflect the convictions of your heart. And your convictions are your standards. And your standards will stand in spite of any situation you may find yourself in. So in order for us to truly experience more, hear me, there's one component that I think we need. And for us to truly experience more, we have to understand how to love in its fundamental stance. Here it is. We need love. John chapter 15, verse 12. It says that this is my covenant, that you love one another as I have loved you. What he's saying is, love one another. Love the people that's within the kingdom. Love one another as I have loved you. What that means is, there's no racism. So we got to question this, because God, we all got to call for more, right? So we got to question this. There is no racism. Because if I put you, because of your ethnic group, under or over, or if I respect you more or less because of the color of your skin, am I operating in love? There is no classism. I'm not going to put you in certain classes based upon how you dress, based upon what you got on, based upon the cologne you wear, based upon the shoes that you got on your feet, based on that cotton that's wrapped around your neck and droops down your upper body. I'm not going to judge you or classify you or not talk to you based upon how I see you, but I will get to know you first, because love is first. Actually investing time to get to know an individual. But if I see you, then judge you, I'm not loving you. I can't be loving you. Because God first sees our flaws, but yet he still loves us. So we ought to be able to see the skin complexion, see the skin tone, see the tattoos, see the things that shows up in an individual, and we ought to still be able to love them, and then possibly see that you don't want to be loved, so let me knock the dust off my feet and keep on moving to the next house. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 6, it says, love do not rejoice in iniquity. This the love verse right here. It says, love does not rejoice in iniquity. But here it is. Love rejoices in the truth. So that right there just squashed every manipulative person that's in your world. Because you don't have time for dumb stuff. Because you don't have time for foolishness. Because you don't have time for iniquity. For you don't have time for disorder. You can't put on me and try to manipulate me and use this 4-letter word, because love, and this is what I'm getting to, is not stupid. But love has standards. Love has boundaries. Love has principle. You can't beat me and say you love me. I can't beat you and say I love you. There's a order. There's a systematic structure to love. And if I see signs that does not emulate the principles of love, I know it's not love, it's iniquity. And I got the choice to either get you out of my life or bring you closer. But that's my choice. Because love does not rejoice in dumb stuff and iniquity. You can't be doing dumb stuff and expect me to just to love you through all your dumb stuff and put me in that kind of situation, because you don't have no self-control. We got to be honest with ourselves. We have over spiritualized, the Bible in such a way. It is a spiritual book, of the words of spirit and they are life. But the Bible is also wisdom unto salvation. It makes you wise unto salvation. It actually makes you wise. And you're able to discern and detect when somebody is trying to do you wrong. You're able to discern and detect when there's wickedness in high places that's targeting you, because we don't walk by the flesh. We don't walk according to we walk according to the flesh, but we don't war according to the flesh. You're able to see and penetrate the real issues of your life and of your world and of the people around you. And you're able to see, because you have the principle to be able to actually see what's going on. You're able to detect that maybe this person is operating in iniquity. And the scriptures clearly tells me that I'm not responsible to rejoice in iniquity, but my responsibility is to rejoice in the truth. Can you rejoice in the truth? Can you rejoice in what's a phenomenon, what's a fact? Can you rejoice in the truth of your relationship? Can you rejoice in the truth of the companionship? Can you rejoice in the fact that maybe y'all won't see eye to eye, but you can still love within the process of iniquity? Because it's only iniquity that breaks up love. It's only disorder that breaks up order. It's only frustration that breaks up peace, right? There's always a opposing enemy. And so we have to be aware of that these opposing enemies gonna always be fighting against each other, because they don't see eye to eye. So if I'm operating in love and you operating in iniquity, we're gonna always butt heads, because our convictions are different. And I'm not operating on emotion, but I'm operating off of love. And love is not an emotional feeling. Love is a truth. And it's a reality. Because nobody can deny love. Nobody can say love don't exist, because you can have a baby and you can see that baby, and that baby can come out your woman's womb, and you can hold that baby and you can feed that baby. And what happens is you begin to develop this burning feeling. You begin to develop this sense of, I want to protect you by any means necessary. You begin to develop this inner fight. and you're trying to figure out, what is this burning I have for this child? And you say you don't believe in love, that burning you are experiencing is love. So love is a true reality. When love is not the motor of your vehicle, when love is the motor of your vehicle, you don't have to worry about driving down the wrong street. You hear me? When love is the motor of your vehicle, you don't have to worry about driving down the wrong street. When love is the reason, abundance is the result. Because the scripture saying in John chapter 3 verse 16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes shall not perish but have everlasting life. Now let's look at this. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. God told the rich young ruler to give all he had, that he may be perfect and he may follow him. What's the comparison there? Giving and being what's the word I'm thinking of? A philanthropist, to the point where you're able to help people. You're able to see things for what it is. You're able to really have that good heart where you don't just operate in emotions, but you're able to discern and you're able to be direct with the issue of that person, because some homeless people don't need $2. They need 2 prayers. Some homeless people don't need no burger. Some homeless people need you to give them a word. And so you're able to discern when the spirit of the person is hungry for the things of God, when they understand that they've tried to live by bread alone. They've tried to live by having nice cars. They tried to live by having a nice house. They tried to live by having a family and a white picket fence and a dog. They tried to do good, but they realized that good is not enough. I actually have to be a good person. And if I want to be a good person, if I want to do what the Lord truly said, I can't live by bread alone. But my objective is to live by every word that proceeds out the mouth of God. My objective is to live according to the nature of God. Because if I have the nature of God, I have the principles of God, I have the spirit of God, guess what? I have the abundance of God. Because it's not about prosperity, but the gospel is prosperity. That's the thing. We key in on a particular aspect of the gospel, but it's all intertangled in the gospel. It's all like this. You should have everlasting life. You in abundance. Yeah, you can't help it. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these other righteousness shall be added. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things shall be added unto you. What does that sound like? Oh, we can argue a lot of stuff. We can argue theology. We can argue all this stuff. But to argue about the abundant nature of the gospel, you can't argue that. Especially if you believe in the gospel. So that everybody has a call for more. Everybody has this yearning and this desire that there's more to be done than what you're currently doing right now. And what I've been learning in my life is focusing on maintaining while progressing. Because a lot of times we progress and we leave a lot of stuff undone. The thing that we have to do is we have to learn how to sustain what we have, because we're called to be good stewards. But we have to have enough vision to work with our right hand and fight with our left. We have to have enough strength to identify that I got to keep my house, I got to keep my car, I got to keep food in my stomach, but I know this is not my end. So I can keep this, but I can press towards this. That everybody has a call for more, and if you can love the real way, you will find yourself experiencing more. If you can give right to the right people in the right situations and not giving to be seen, but giving when the Lord tells you to give, you will experience the abundance of God. And we got to believe it. We got to trust it. Because if we believe it, it's proof that it will happen. The call for more. What's calling you? I pray you was encouraged.